these war heroes. It's just amazing. I got goosebumps every time one of these guys spoke. It's beautiful. Just to give you a little background, I grew up the first half of my childhood as an Army brat. My father served in Vietnam. In fact, he's a career Army guy. And it was a wonderful, wonderful life. We moved around a lot. We got to see the whole world. And then one day I came home from school and my mother said, we're leaving. So me, my mother, and my two brothers all got on a bus. We left Fort Lee, Virginia, where we had a two-story house, a guest room, my own room, and we never locked the doors, and we moved to the middle of Harlem. It was a serious case of culture shock. It was really rough, though. It was, we had a hard time. We got beat up every day. It was really tough, and it gave me a first-hand view of what this sort of mentality that we have going on right now in the White House could ultimately end up, where people lose their innovation, they lose their innate ability to care for themselves, and they become stewards of the government, where they think the crumbs of welfare that somehow they're getting over on the system when they don't realize the system is just crushing them in their existence. Now, recently there have been talk of changing laws so that bankruptcy judges can cram down and adjust mortgages on lenders. Let's say someone owes $300,000 on their house, but it's worth maybe in the current market $200,000. Well, the judge can just cram that down the bank's throat and make them take the loss. There's also a lot of other cram downs that I see going on. I see a cram down on our hopes, a cram down on our pride, a cram down on our wealth, a cram down on our dreams, a cram down on our laws, and a cram down on our liberties. Now, I gotta say, initially I thought that the moves in the White House were really an effort to redistribute money from people that work to people who don't work. But I'm really starting to see it, I think it's something even more sinister than that. At the end of the day, I think we're all being conditioned to be a nation of mediocrity, where success is scorned and made virtually impossible by a new series of rules, regulations, and mostly by public ridicule. And I gotta tell you, the game plan for this is ass backwards at best. Because this is the same president that promised an end to trickle-down economics. So far, all we've seen from them is trickle-down recovery. I mean, all I can figure is that perhaps the goal of the president is right now to hijack part of corporate America and then browbeat the rest of corporate America to the point where they cry uncle and they give up being competitive, they give up making profits, they give up on innovation, and they just sort of operate and hope that they're not bullied anymore. I mean, listen, here we are, guys. Yesterday, we had a jobs report on Thursday, 26-year high in unemployment. And yet, we've given billions of dollars to banks, $180 billion to AIG, $80 billion to General Motors, and we pledged $100 billion to the IMF. You gotta be kidding me. Oh, and the Small Business Administration, $15 billion. What a joke. We don't have the official numbers, but let's put a B behind it no matter what it is. You know what I think, though? It's interesting because I think people should be just like the streets of Tehran. We should be out there. I don't know why all of the people in America are out on the streets right now. And here's the real irony. People making minimum wage should be the angriest ones of all. People that made $35,000 a year and gave $100 to the Obama administration should be the most angriest out. They should be on the streets crying. Now, so far, money has gone to the Health and Human Services, which means welfare. The Department of Agriculture, if you look at recovery.gov, they've gotten 2/3 of the money allotted them from the stimulus plan. That's food stamps. Now, what the administration tells us is that for every dollar in food stamps, it creates $1.80 in economic activity. But the one thing they can't argue is that it creates jobs, because it doesn't. All we're doing right now is we're destroying wealth and we're deterring success, and we're pressuring Americans who still dare to not only dream the American dream, but are willing to work hard to achieve it. The White House game plan right now, as far as I can see, relies on massive and mindless spending and creating social programs that will never stop growing. So, you know what? It's time for us to fight back. It's time to say no to more bailouts. It's time to say no to more tax hikes. It's time to say no to more broken promises. It's time to say no to apologizing to the rest of the world for America's greatness. No more demonization of successful people, and no more socialism. Not abandon a system that made America the greatest country ever to grace the planet. The president and members of Congress like Reid and Pelosi, they're obviously determined to upend this nation. You know, when people hear things like the end to the boom and bust cycle, they become afraid. Because you know what? All we really know is that it's going to be the end of the boom cycle, right? And you know, you wonder, this week mortgage applications came out and refinancings were in a 7-month low. Well, you got mortgage rates low, we got home prices low. What's going on? People are afraid. They're afraid of the message that they hear every day. They are. I think also what's interesting is that this administration says they want to curtail risk. You know, is that kind of thinking, imagine if that kind of thinking was in place at the dawn of mankind. We'd all still be walking on all fours. We cannot abandon capitalism. And we will not. And let me tell you, for me, these